This is Pace Per Mile with host Chris Nicholas. Take us on your next run or ride and prepare for race day with Pace Per Mile.
Welcome back to Pace Per Mile. I'm Chris Nicholas. We feature a race every week here on the show. Large races from marathons and half marathons up to, obviously, ultras. But then we talk about 5Ks and 10Ks as well. Our audience is so vast, and a race that we really want to highlight this week is almost full. And we're talking with Dusty Robinson about that today on the show. Dusty is with Fleet Feet in Sacramento. You're the general manager there, and we are talking about the Shamrockin half marathon and 5K. Dusty, welcome to Pace Per Mile.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I said a lot in those comments there, but I think the most important part that the listeners are going to want to take away from this is that if they were thinking about registering for this race, they need to do it quick.
Very quickly, yes. As of yesterday morning, we anticipated we had about 5 days left of potential registrations. And it tends to accelerate very quickly when we get to the end like this. It could be anywhere from 2 days from now to 4 days from now.
So the clock is ticking, runners. And so what we're going to do is we're going to send the listeners to the website right now, shamrockinhalf.com. That's where you want to go. I'm sure they can find you. You have a Facebook and a Twitter out there as well. Shamrockinhalf.com is where the listeners want to go. As we're chatting back and forth here on the program, let's talk about the race. If nobody really knows about this race, it's been around for 10 years.
That's correct. It's our 10th anniversary this year. We're excited about that. It seems like it's been a blink of an eye, actually.
Well, take us back. How did the race start? It's through Sacramento. I'm sure it shows off the city quite a bit with the half marathon, and you also have the 5K. I believe you have a kids run, too, tied into it.
Yes, we do. You know, as far as going back to the first year, it's amazing to look back now. The Sacramento area is actually very, very saturated with races. But at the time, 10 years ago, there was not a spring half marathon. And here at Fleet Feet Sports, as a store, we would hear from a lot of customers that they wished there was a springtime half marathon. And at the time, we were not in event management, nor did we have the skill to do it. So we thought about it and kind of hoped someone else would do it, and it never really happened. So we partnered up with a local event manager that was privately doing events himself, and he was really missing being a part of a team. And if there's anything that we've got going on at Fleet Feet Sports that's absolutely right, it is our sense of team. We're one big happy family, and he really wanted to be part of that. And so we brought him in and started Fleet Feet Event Management 10 years ago. And he was pretty incredible, and what we put together that year was pretty incredible. We had, if I remember right, it was 8 or 10 weeks to produce the entire event. We made the decision, I want to say, in the first part of December, and obviously produced the event in March that year. And first year, we had 1,850 people in the half marathon. It was a little bit stunning. We knew we had the parts and pieces of a great event. We had a good idea, but being new to the game, obviously our event manager, he was a 20-year veteran of event management. But for us as a retailer being new to the event management game, we were shocked by it too. We were very happy to get that many first year.
And the race is the second or third week of March 15th and 16th, right?
That's correct. It's always the Sunday before St. Patrick's Day.
You have the 5K and Kids Half Mile on March 15th, and then the following day, the 16th. Why the separation there?
Yeah, it's an interesting scenario, right? Most events would do it all in one day. One of the biggest draws of the Shamrockin Half Marathon is our finish. We kind of say we have the best finish in Sacramento, with us finishing at our AAA ball club, which is the Sacramento River Cats. We finish on field at Raley Field, so finishers actually come through the center field gate and finish on the warning track on the third base side. And in order to do that, we have crowds to try to get off the field and up through the stands onto the main concourse. Mm-hmm. And essentially, we've just maxed out in the morning on what we can do with the half marathon. So we chose to spread it out. And what we're really hoping is that families can kind of spread the weekend out. You know, someone might be able to do the 5K and kids on Saturday and switch the scenario for Sunday, and someone else can come back and run the half marathon on Sunday.
Well, and I think you probably have the scenario as well that somebody's going to run the 5K on Saturday and do the half marathon on Sunday and get that additional miles in, right?
Yeah, internally we've been referring to it as the lucky leprechaun. We haven't formalized that in any way, at least this year. This is the first year we're bringing the 5K back after not having it for a lot of years. But we may entertain that in 2015, having actually a division of people who can do both events.
We're talking with Dusty Robinson. He's the general manager for Fleet Feet Sacramento here on Pace Per Mile. And we're talking about the Shamrockin half and 5K. It is March 15th and 16th. And you're at 95 to 98% full right now.
We are. We are very, very quick. The 5K and kids races will stay open. I would anticipate all the way up to race morning. But our half marathon is definitely in the mid 90% range full. We expect to sell out in the next 2 to 4 days.
All right, for our listeners then, let's talk in depth about the half marathon. So if they are on your website or they're new to the race, let's talk about the course itself. Where does it start? Where does it traverse? And where does it finish, which you talked about a moment ago, but where does it start and where does it go through?
When we sat down to design the Shamrockin' Half Marathon, one of the things that we wanted to do is 10 years ago, there were a lot of events that were what I would say cause-related events, Race for the Cure and our local Run to Feed the Hungry, and a lot of those types of events. And those are wonderful events in our community. But we kind of had a vision of an event that was really all about the race participants' experience. And that's where we started. Our events do have beneficiaries, of course, and are about supporting our community as well. But we wanted to take what the Fleet Feet retail philosophy is, which is to be very community-driven and customer-focused, and take that into events. So when we designed it, we essentially said, how do we design a half marathon that really is a great experience? And we start from Raley Field, which is our local AAA ball club baseball field. And we tried to hit as many Sacramento landmarks as we could. So immediately within the first half mile, the participants will cross the Tower Bridge, which is just a beautiful old bridge here in Sacramento. And as they cross that bridge, they'll be running right down Capitol Mall at our state capitol for roughly the first 3/4 of a mile of the race. So it's just a very, very nice start to the race. And the photos that we are lucky enough to get to take and the video coverage we're able to get to take of that start is really great.
Have you had to tweak the course a little bit over the years to get that really perfect course set?
It's funny you mentioned that. Yes, we had an ongoing joke that we had a new course record every year for the first 6 years of the race. And a lot of it was, as a new event management company, proving ourselves that we could put the event on without a hitch. And as we did that more and more, our 2 event managers do a wonderful job and are incredibly organized and have great communication with our city officials and police and California Highway Patrol and that sort of thing. As we earned more trust as an event management company, more things became an opportunity. Things that were a no in the early years started to become a yes later on. And so we've had the same course now. This will be the same course for the 3rd year in a row. So event 8, 9, and 10 all share the same course, which includes that Tower Bridge crossing, riverfront running. At about mile 2.5, they run right in front of our state capitol. And new to the course this year, which we're excited about, is the title sponsor of the Shamrockin' Half Marathon is a local company, Blue Diamond Almonds. This year, for the first time ever, we will be running actually right through their corporate headquarters and are building a very, very large, high-energy kind of energy station, if you will, as you run through their property there. From there, the course can continue on and runs our River Parkway here and through one of the biggest parks in Sacramento, the Discovery Park. And then one of, I think, our participants' favorite areas is just before mile 10. They will actually go through Old Town Sacramento. And there's, a lot of spectators in Old Town Sacramento. And then, of course, the kind of epic finish of finishing through the center field gate with our participants' picture up on the big screen at the baseball field at the end.
You brought up something while you were talking, and I would like to ask you a little bit more about that. For this particular race, you do get spectators throughout the course?
We do. When we see these events on TV, like, a Boston Marathon or a New York, that's obviously an incredible, the whole course is lined the whole way type of spectator experience. Mm-hmm. And I think the reality of smaller market events, not those major nationally promoted events, is you're never going to be able to do that. So what we try to do is, the event is called Shamrockin' for a reason. In 13 miles last year, we had 16 bands on course. So we keep the energy level up with bands on the course. And then we reach out actually to our local community of spectators and try to create areas that they go to versus letting people just kind of head out there on their own and be on the course somewhere. We try to encourage them to show up in certain locations so that everybody knows as you cross mile 10 and a half marathon, you're typically starting to struggle. So we like to have a lot of energy around mile 10, anywhere on the course where we feel like, maybe because of housing or something like that, we weren't able to put a live band. We will encourage kind of a spectator station. So that's how we've kind of battled that. You get a lot of spectators come out, but if they spread themselves out over 13 miles, it doesn't feel like a lot of energy. So we really try to get them to show up in the same place.
And for the 5K, it's as exciting?
Well, this will be our first year with the 5K back, but one of the things that we've done with the 5K this year is, again, internally we're joking that it's every bit of a Shamrockin experience and party, and you only have to run 3.1 miles. So we've worked really, really hard with city officials. The course, although only covering 3 miles, it will cross the Tower Ridge, run by the Capitol, run through Old Town Sacramento. So we've tried to hit a lot of the premier landmarks. It will finish on Raley Field, and our post-race party, which is a huge aspect of our event with sponsors from Killian's. Our Killian's post-race party will happen both Saturday and Sunday for the 5K and the half marathon.
Numbers-wise, for the half marathon and 5K, what do you think you'll end up at the end?
Yeah, we're thinking the expectation of the half is going to be somewhere in the probably 7,700 to 8,500 range. Like I said, we're almost sold out, and we don't necessarily have a hard number cap. We're really seeing how our waves come together, because we start in 4 different waves, and that's what ensures a quality experience with good flow on the course. So we don't have a hard cap number, but it's somewhere in that range of probably 77 to 8,500 in the half marathon. And again, with it being first year back with the 5K, we don't know exactly where we're going to end up, but we anticipate that it could be anywhere from 1,500 to 2,200.
Great job on building that race up over the last 10 years. And now you're celebrating the 10th anniversary. And I think with this year, you're bringing in something that I'd love for you to talk about with the listeners, and that's the Project Fit and Project Soul. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so, as I mentioned earlier, all of the events we put on over the year have beneficiaries, which is pretty common of events. And, we've tried to keep our beneficiaries very local driven events. Again, kind of going back to our retail philosophy of being focused on our community and having a good fitness effect on our community. So Project Fit is a free after school running program that one of the owners here, Pat and Jan Sweeney, own Fleet Feet Sports here in Sacramento. And Jan started Project Fit, I think it was 4 years ago now, because youth fitness has always been our focus of philanthropy in our community. And so we put on after school running programs that I want to say this year we're at about 25 schools in the greater Sacramento area. And over the last 3 to 4 years, we're coming up close on having about 5,000 kids go through that program. And so the beauty of Project Fit is the way we've structured it. It is not incredibly expensive to put on at a school. So when you take a look at an event, any sized event that is raising money for Project Fit, every little bit truly can mean that we're doing an entire new school program. So we get a lot of support from the participants because they can donate at the point of registration directly to Project Fit. And that's extremely helpful. And then, of course, the event produces, an after the event donation to Project Fit. Project Soul is a great partner of ours. They're a shoe donation program. And so the way that works is we run this all year long, that people, our customers, can donate their used shoes to us. We send them to Project Soul. And Project Soul, if they're really, really destroyed, will recycle them and run them through a recycle program. If they're in good enough condition to use, they'll find areas that are at need for footwear and make sure that they get those. And for every pair that we donate, Project Fit gets $2. So we kind of have this 3-pronged approach with the event to drive funds towards Project Fit and keep those after-school running programs going.
Talking with Dusty Robinson, GM of Fleet Feet in Sacramento, about the Blue Diamond Almond Shamrockin half and 5K. And I see in a lot of your photos on your website that the runners obviously are out in their green, and I would assume that they probably get a shirt that's all green with a great design on it. What else do they get for participating in the race?
We haven't had green shirts every year, but I'd say out of 10 years, we've had green shirts 4 times. So they get a tech tee with their race registration. They get a great on-course experience. Like I said, last year we had 16 bands on a 13-mile course. They get a post-race party that's supported by Blue Diamond Almonds and Killian's. So afterwards, every legally aged participant has the opportunity to receive a complimentary Killian's beverage. And then we have a beautiful post-race party that overlooks our AAA ball club at Raley Field with band and entertainment. And this year, Blue Diamond Almonds will be actually providing all the finishers with 1.5-ounce tubes of almonds, but multiples of them, which we've never really done before. Blue Diamond Almonds is a brand that really has invested in flavoring their almonds, and a lot of people don't realize how many flavors that they have. So one of the things we're doing this year is participants will receive a pack of Blue Diamond Almonds to take home with them or eat them at the post-race party. In general, I think the perks of the event are experience, and people walk away loving the event and coming back year after year.
And having a company like Blue Diamond Almonds involved is very important, too, because it shows that companies do want to be able to partner with races. They do want to support the community just as much as the community is supporting them.
Absolutely. And they're a natural partner for us. I mean, it's beautiful to have such a large company supporting us, but also know that that large company is local. I mean, literally their headquarters are on the course. We run right through their property with the course, and their property is less than a mile from our store. So we just have a great relationship with them. And as the relationship with them goes beyond a sponsorship, we're really truly trying to have an effect on our community. In addition to supporting the event, they're an annual supporter of that after-school program, and they provide healthy snacks for the kids. We run these programs in a lot of Title I schools, which are low-income schools. And sadly to say, many of these kids will go a weekend potentially sometimes without eating. And so you imagine trying to have them show up and do run club in the afternoon on a Monday when they really haven't eaten almost for an entire weekend. And there's some great food programs that we've partnered with a group called Be Change in the Sacramento area. And then along the lines of that afternoon showing up and actually being able to have a healthy snack from Blue Diamond Almonds for these kids is great. So they're just such a wonderful partner beyond an event sponsor. They actually care about our community or are putting back into our community.
We're talking about the Shamrockin half marathon and 5K brought to the runners by Blue Diamond Almonds. The 10th annual this year coming up on March 15th and 16th. It's the 5K and the kids half mile on the 15th, and then the half marathon on the 16th. And Dusty, for those listeners that want to know how much the prices are for each race, what are they?
Half marathon is $70, and again, really, really close to selling out in the next 4 days. 5K is $40. Again, we'll be accepting registrations for that all the way up through race day. And the kids half mile is $15. And the kids, I love to say this, they get to finish on the field as well. Their finisher's prize is actually a Raley Field baseball with the Shamrockin logo on it. So we expect the kids to really love that. Our overall winners, by the way, actually receive engraved baseball bats as too, which is just such a fun thing to present to the winners each year.
Sounds like you've put a great event together, and runners can register on your website. It's at the shamrockinhalf.com. They can find you on Facebook and Twitter and connect with you there. And most importantly, they could just stop in the store because that's where the packet pickup is too, right?
That's correct. We'll have packet pickup during regular business hours, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday before the event. Registration for the 5K will be open in store during that time. Obviously, the half marathon will be sold out by that time, so 5K and kids can still register during packet pickup.
And if our listeners can't make it out to the Shamrockin half and 5K, they can check out the other 10 to 12 events that you put on during the year. Dusty Robinson, the GM of Fleet Feet in Sacramento, thanks for joining us here on Pace Per Mile, and we'd love to have you back on and talk more about those events here later this year.
I would be happy to do it and appreciate the opportunity and time.
You've been listening to another review on races and places all across the United States here on Pace Per Mile. I'm Chris Nicholas.
Thanks for listening to this week's Pace Per Mile show. For more on the latest news, reviews, and more, check out pacepermile.com. Like us on Facebook and join in the conversation on Twitter. Until next week, keep putting in the miles and keep your goals high.